Colors. As I sit on the floor of my living room in my most colorful outfit today, something I haven't done in a while, as I sit here in yellow and blue, it reminds me of nothing but the happiness I feel within, and so I decide to paint. Paint because it makes me happy. Paint because it feeds the artist inside me. And so I decide to do whatever my heart desires with the colors I've got today. And suddenly my troubles seem to disappear. Suddenly the world feels like a canvas at my disposal, a canvas I can paint on, with bright colors of yellow and orange and green and blue and whatever so my little heart desires. And in this exact moment, I ponder upon the words I read on page 218 in Encounters with Materials, where Manning defined paint assemblages as non-systematic and non-normative, something that is always open for creation, something that I would be doing today. I first begin by painting my hand with all the paint colors that I've got, feeling each stroke as the brush smoothly caresses my fingers. I want to leave a rainbow print on my canvas. As I'm exploring the sensations of paint on my skin, I also decide to mix two of my favorite colors together and engage in some thumb painting. This makes me realize how pink and purple make a perfect combination, and so I decide to put more colors together and let the brush dictate my art. It makes me want to experiment with abstract art, which is one of the most democratic forms of art. And so I use my fingers to splatter the paint through my brush, and I notice how within seconds my empty white canvas is littered in vibrant hue. Suddenly, mixing colors feels like liberation somehow. So I do not stop at that. My curiosity begs me to explore this further, and so I take a dropper and mix pink and yellow together. And as I extract paint out from that dropper, I notice a colorful bubble on my palette. And it reminds me of Bennett's words where she talks about how paint invites forces to interact and interfere with each other. It makes me ponder on how collision of two things might not always be a bad thing. Making the best use of the colors I've got, I also decide to mix blue with yellow, and a beautiful shade of green emerges on my paper. And as I use my hand and the roller to spread it out, I notice the sandy texture it leaves in the end. A texture that reminds me of beach and sand, of the diverse forms of life present inside the water. From fish to sea plants, the world seems huge. This makes me think of Bennett, where she suggests that an assemblage is like a human, non-human working group, where each element is in relationship with each other. And it makes me think of how, through paint, I feel closer to the nature than I've ever been. Thinking of nature, I also decide to experiment with some flowers and leaves. As I paint my leaf with yellow and green, I paste it on my canvas and it leaves a beautiful imprint behind, somehow reminding me of the autumn walks I used to have with my parents when I loved crunching those crispy leaves as a child. I also dip my flowers in different paints and seem to enjoy the dipping sound it makes every time I do it. This reminds me of the words I read on page 211, where Manning writes that each touch in paint assemblages is much more than a tactile sensory input. It is hearing with a seeing through. And as I engage in abstract art, feeling each and every sensation from the sound of the paint to the brush strokes on my hand, in a way, today I feel whole.